At this time, please silence your cell phone. Be advised that these proceedings are being recorded. For those physically present in the council chamber who desire to address the city council during the meeting, please complete the request to speak form available at the front entrance of the council chamber and present it to the city clerk. Speakers physically present and participating via Zoom will be called upon at an appropriate time of each person and allow 3 minutes of speaking time. I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order at 6:12. Tuesday, April 23rd at the year 2024. The invocation will be given by Pastor Harold Cortez. Is that how you say it? Cortez. From Seventh-day Sabbath Church. And Mr. Henderson, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight? And the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Henderson. So please stand. Sir, we'll have you give the invocation first.
Thank you for the invitation. Yes, it's great. I'm going to start with a quote from the Bible, the book of Proverbs 9:10. It says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and knowledge of the holy is understanding." Let's bow our heads. Precious Father in heaven, I commend this meeting in your hands for your honor and glory. I would like you to take in your hands Mayor Bill Husey, Mayor Pro Tem Doug Wilson, for Jeff Allen, Councilman Kenneth Henderson, Deborah Thompson, Conrad Bolowich, Christine Clayton, Dan Monse, Michelle Fuentes, Scott Hatter, our Chief of Police, Cameron Beth. And Father, I will read the blessings according to Numbers 6:24-26. The Lord bless thee and keep thee. The Lord make his face shine upon thee and be gracious unto thee. The Lord lift up his countenance upon thee and give thee peace. God may be with all of us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Thank you, Pastor. Thank you, Councilmember Henderson. Madam City Clerk, can we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Henderson.
Present.
Councilmember Allen.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Wilson.
I am here.
Mayor Hussey.
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. So our first item of business is installation of an officer. Installation of officers and the oath of the office appointed to officials. So Madam City Clerk, you want to? We're making you earn your money tonight.
Michelle and your family, if you could please join us here.
So you're going to repeat after me. Raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Michelle Sabino,
Do solemnly affirm that I will support and defend
do solemnly affirm that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California. I'm so sorry.
that I take this obligation freely
That I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose
without any mental reservation or purpose
of evasion,
and
that I will well and faithfully
that I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, Michelle, you get to be in the hot seat, but before that, we'll go ahead and come back at 6:30 because I know other people want to take pictures of you. So we'll adjourn again until 6:30. Deborah, she probably wants to take pictures.
Administrative staff, Deb Council signing, thanking them for their service.
Can I go? I'm so thirsty.
That's the last one. Michelle, we saved all the difficult issues for you.
That air is not This is the thank you card for me. Ken, so what's up with your hearing? Was it from me talking too much on our drive? Michelle, you know your seat's right there.
I don't know. It just that's what my wife thinks.
Because remember I told you I had a bad ear?
Yeah.
More minutes. We're going to do special presentations. Or Jeff will recognize you in school. Jeff, you want to read the proclamation for the school since you All right, we're going to go ahead and reconvene. We're on item D, special presentations. So our first presentation will be Grand Terrace High
Excuse me, Mayor.
School. Yes.
We have public comment first.
Did I skip a page?
Page 1.
So I'm all excited about the presentations. You know, this is what you have me coming in for 4:30 and no overtime, I tell you. All right, well, yeah, hey, who turned my page over? I'm sorry. So item B, we have no recording, additionals, or removal of items or agendas.
No additions or deletions.
Okay. Item C, public comment. This is an opportunity for members of the public to comment on any items not appearing at the regular agenda. Because restrictions contained in California law, the city council may not discuss or act on any item not on agenda, but may briefly respond to statements made or ask questions for clarifications. The mayor may also request a brief response from staff to questions raised during the public comment and may request the matter to be agendized for a future meeting. So do we have any public comment?
Yes, sir. We have Mr. Fuentes and Israel Fuentes.
Is he on that, or is he for the special presentation?
Public comment.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Temp, Grand Terrace City Council members, and community. My name is Israel Fuentes, a Colton Joint Unified School District Board member and clerk, as well as a newly elected chair for the Coalition for Tobacco-Free San Bernardino County. I wanted to speak tonight to express my support for the local youth and community members and their ongoing efforts to promote smoke-free spaces in the community in the city of Grand Terrace. With the recent 2023 California Youth Tobacco Survey reporting showing about half of the high school students are exposed to some form of secondhand smoke in our outdoor spaces. It is important to consider comprehensive smoke-free outdoor policies as a way to limit secondhand smoke exposure to our youth and change social norms around using these types of products in public outdoor places. We would like to thank the city manager for all the help in preparing a smoke-free outdoor policy for the city of Grand Terrace that we hope will soon be brought before the city council. We are grateful for the time he has dedicated to meeting with us and hearing our recommendations. We want to also thank the city council for being so supportive of this policy and for attending some of our walks and events. We especially appreciate the support you all have shown for the youth working on this campaign. With that, we would like to invite you all and the community to our next walk happening May 4th from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. would be late. 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. at Richards Rollins Park. These walks are to raise awareness for the smoke-free campaign while promoting active living. We have brought some flyers to pass out to the council and the community members present tonight. Thank you again for your time and consideration. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. And that young lady right there is probably going to be senator one day, just to let you know.
She probably will.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
But, yeah, thank you, and looking forward to that walk, and thank you for everything your coalition does. You know, they picked up trash one time. We picked up cigarette butts. And you know what? Surprisingly, there's hardly any cigarette butts to pick up. So they made me go buy some and throw it on the ground so they make it look like they're doing something. And cigarettes are expensive nowadays. I don't know how people can afford it. But anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, City Clerk, do we have anybody else?
Bobby Forbes.
Okay. Ms. Forbes?
Good evening. I'd like to congratulate Michelle. Thank you. Good job, council. I know staff is overworked, but I think Barton Road looks awful. The businesses are not being made to cut their weeds. These landlords are being neglectful. We have rental program for the houses. I think code enforcement really needs to come down on the businesses. It's an eyesore when you get off the freeway, you come up Barton Road, almost all the businesses have weeds that are 10 inches or bigger, trees out of control. It's just not okay. It makes our community look bad, so please do better. Thank you.
City Manager, do we have a time frame on these weeds?
We're working with the businesses and cutting ours as well. It's just, this is the rain and then the sun and weeds come out, so this is.
Okay, so they have a certain time, they start getting
Yeah, they're
penalties?
at that point where we're working with them already.
All right, thank you.
Juanita Odenbaugh.
Good evening, City Council members and Mayor Hussey. Nice to see you. I live at 21811 Vivian Avenue, and I have a few businesses in my area, and one of them I want to talk to you about is West Coast Arborist. Their CPU is dated 2010. This property was intended to only be a satellite yard for a tree trimming business. Since the last 2 years, they also are leasing the adjacent property next to their current property at 21718 Walnut Avenue. They now have leased a property below the bluff where I live. This property is a property that was sold a couple of years ago for $2 million. It is, as I'm often reminded by the city manager, it has an agriculture overlay. So West Coast Arborist is now down there. They're not just down there planting trees. They have a house there. They fixed up. There are people living in it. They have a dog. They have many cars parking on their dirt with no gravel, large trucks. And the most disturbing thing you might find is that there is a flammable pile up against the bluff where my neighborhood is. I don't know what's in that flammable pile. It could be a rag or whatever. There's quite a few, but there's a large one. So I would appreciate it if you could please review it's actually a land use permit, and if you could please review it, add it, and I'd appreciate it, the letter when it goes against, to renew, to get together with their CUP, because this is a land use permit, so old. Get it together. I'm not against this company. I would just like to see the city to try to, with the appropriate staff, enforce it. Because when I park on my lawn, I get a ticket. And if I had a flammable pile like that, I don't think any of my neighbors would be liking me much either. So please help me to extend a good neighbor relationship and moving forward with West Coast Arborists. And one more thing I'd like to mention, their operational hours are 6:30 to 4:30. I go to the Staters when they open at 6, and they're already at the gas station by 6:10. So that tells me they get there at 5:30, not 6:30. I'm home. I live there. I drive back and forth. My mom lives in the neighborhood. I know what time they actually get in, and it's past 4:30. And then the employees zoom through our residential area also. Ask them to use Terrace Avenue. That's the appropriate route. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate your cooperation and hopefully hearing something back about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Auerbach. City manager and city attorney, can we look into those issues about that? Especially, because I know a lot of people, fire insurance is getting canceled, and we want to make sure that that area is safe because we don't want any fires. We'll look into it, Ms. Auerbach. And we'll get back with you. Thank you. Anything else?
No more public comment, Mayor.
So I could close public comment now? All right, as long as you say it's all right. So we'll go and close public comment. Now we'll do this special presentation. All right. Okay, our first presentation, Grand Terrace High School certificate of recognition. I would like to introduce Dr. Frank Miranda and ask Dr. Miranda to come to the lecture and say a few words about Grand Terrace High School. And I guess you have a video? Yeah, you could bring them all up. Huh? The more the merrier. You guys all work together for this special award. Team
Yes, we
effort.
did. I'm going to invite them down here. Principal, staff, teachers, students. Marco. Come down here, Ben, too. You're part of this, too. Yeah, this is a community. So we have a video. Is that you guys have the video already? Okay, thank you.
We have any
Absolutely.
popcorn?
And then I'll make some comments after the video if you don't mind.
Okay.
And, yeah, so.
Welcome to Grand Terrace High School, where student success is at the forefront of every decision being made here. We're more than just a school, we're one team, one Titan family.
We are honored to be recognized as a California Distinguished School. One of the things that make us great is our staff. Our teachers create a rigorous learning environment where students succeed academically and social-emotionally. If you ask our students, the one thing they will tell you is their teachers care. Additionally, our classified staff create a welcoming environment where students feel safe and know that they can get whatever support they need to be successful in life and school.
They really challenge us here in the study facility. We are taught to be great and strive for our dream careers through the CTE pathways offered.
Since its opening in 2012, Grand Terrace High School students have been thriving, and I am a firm believer it's because of our 5 core values: generosity, respect, excellence, accountability, and teamwork. This is what it means to be great.
This is more than just a school. This is a place where you can create memories that will last a lifetime.
We really strive to be allergic to average here at Grand Terrace High School. We're always looking for ways to appreciate and recognize our students and staff, and our sincere hope is that everyone can feel connected to our campus in some way, shape, or form.
My favorite thing here at Grand Terrace High School has always been the ASB student events. No matter what background we come from, we always get together and have an absolute blast.
So what makes the Grand Terrace community great is their commitment to student achievement, to excellence, and to partnering with our district for what's in the best interest of our students.
To have been here since the day the school opened to where we're at now, a 2024 California Distinguished School, has truly been a blessing.
Moving forward, we're not only very proud and excited of what we've done, but we're looking to do great things in the future.
Over the last 13 years, we've changed students' lives, and they've gone out and changed the world. Remember, students, be Titan strong.
This is GT.
This is GT.
This is GT.
This is GT.
This is GT!
Yeah, wasn't that awesome? So good evening, Mayor Hussey, Mayor Pro Tem Wilson, and esteemed council members. I just want to thank you for extending this invitation for us to address the council tonight. It really is an honor to stand before you on behalf of the Colton Joint Unified School District. I am the proud superintendent, Dr. Frank Miranda. And here tonight, I also want to introduce several of our esteemed board members. I want to start with our board president, Mr. Frankie Barra. Also have here Mr. Israel Fuentes. He's our board clerk. And of course, we have here Ms. Bertha Flores, board member. And of course, the awesome staff behind me. And we have our principal here, Mr. Neighbors, assistant principals back here. And there's so many here to name, but yes. I'll tell you, Marco Reese, our students, and the backbone, right? The backbone of Grand Terrace High School, Roberto McDonald. So this is GT behind me right here. So, and so we are thrilled tonight because of our collective joy, overjoy of Grand Terrace High School being named and recognized as a California Distinguished School. This prestigious award and accolade not only celebrates the excellence of our school and our district, but also reflects the unwavering support and commitment of the Grand Terrace community here. It's an outstanding residents that live here and the exceptional students who grace the halls of our beloved institution that we call GT. So tonight I'm accompanied by, and I mentioned our board members, our principals, and the staff and the students who make up the heart and soul of our school. Their dedication and tireless work and efforts have been instrumental in nurturing an environment of academic excellence and personal growth there at Grand Terrace High School. And you see great all over. They're a great school. Principal Neighbors, I just want to acknowledge that because it takes a strong leader to make this happen too. So Principal Neighbors has been a guiding light, fostering an inclusive, enriching, and a stimulating atmosphere for students. His leadership is fueled by his deep personal commitment and investment in our school as both a parent and a resident of our community, of this community. So he has been instrumental in shaping the success that we celebrate today. So I want to also extend my heartfelt appreciation to everyone gathered tonight. This achievement truly belongs to the entire Grand Terrace community. Each individual has contributed their time, expertise, and their unwavering support, as I mentioned earlier, to the support of our students and their educational journey. In Colton, our vision of students first, achievement, equity, and wellness is at the forefront of what we do. And that's our vision for our students. So it's with great honor and pleasure that we stand here before all of you tonight, once again, to share in this moment of pride and celebration for here at the Grand Terrace City Council meeting. So with that, I don't know if our board president would like to say a few words.
Thank you, Superintendent Miranda. First of all, I'd like to begin by welcoming and congratulating Michelle Sabino for the position you now hold, Councilwoman. And I look forward to a long tenure of working with you here at the council, along with our school district. As you all know, Grand Terrace is our newest high school. It hasn't been that long since it's been built. But over the period of time, we've seen the growth, the motivation, the educational excellence of individuals, students, staff, community, that have provided a very strong base for what we've been able to achieve here as a district. To receive the California High School Distinguished Award is something that is nothing short of incredible. Because what it does, it sends a message not only to our district, to surrounding districts, to show that here at Grand Terrace, here at the Cone Joint Unified School District, we have great educational, extracurricular programs that allow us to grow a community, grow our students, head them in the direction that will allow them to be successful in the future. And we all know that in order for our students to achieve in the upcoming years, they have to be prepared. And as our superintendent mentioned, our staff is incredible. The programs that they have promoted, we are very fortunate as board members to see as they present them throughout the school year to us as a school board. Top-notched. The efforts, and one of the things that I've noticed is that at Grand Terrace, what they offer there really makes our students want to come to school, look forward to coming to school. And as they're growing and experiencing, as they leave our district in graduation, many of them take all the experiences, all the associations that they've made through teachers and friends, and they go out to the world to achieve. So with all that being said, I just want to take this opportunity on behalf of the Board of Education to thank each and every one of you for giving our Grand Terrace staff, school, students, community, opportunity to recognize this great achievement. Thank you very much.
I do want to mention something before I forget. Tomorrow, we have our community cabinet. We're going to showcase Grand Terrace High School and some of the things that our students are doing. So that's tomorrow at 10 o'clock here in Colton, at the 900 building. I'm sure we got the information out to you, but I had to take this opportunity to plug our community cabinet. And again, we're going to celebrate Grand Terrace High School. So thank you for that.
Thank you. And what else is going on? You had the engineer and they're doing their showcase, if you want to announce that so people will know.
Yes, we have their engineering showcase on Thursday. Please come out. It's a great event. I know many of our city council and mayor come out and do that, so it's something that is a great way to highlight a lot of the career piece as well as seeing amazing things, and also our art will be there too as well, so it's a great opportunity.
And that's at 5:30 and 7:30?
Yes, and thank you for recognizing us. It's something.
Because every time I leave that, I just realize I'm not that smart. You know, these kids are making some good stuff. We made our own glue and we ate it back then. So, thank you.
As a principal, I see some of the amazing things our students do, and I'm in awe. We have a student right now that is MIT, and just a lot of great things are happening with one of our students. Just recently got a full ride to Johns Hopkins, and just doing amazing things at our school. So, just very grateful to be here and also being recognized as a school. So thank you very much. And all we try to do is make you guys proud every single day, as well as our community.
Well, we are. So we're going to read your certificate now, unless you guys have something else to say. And then the council will say a few words. So Councilor Allen, who's our community cabinet advisor and leader that goes to all the meetings, I'm going to give him the certificate to read it since he does so much for your school district. Councilor Allen.
Thanks, Mayor. I appreciate doing that. I have been on that community cabinet program is a great program. If any of you out there listening, I highly recommend it's a great way to be involved in the school district if you have an interest in that. I want to tell you how impressed I was at your last community council meeting, cabinet meeting, Dr. Miranda, because you showcased one of your Grand Terrace High School career paths. Now, I've seen the science and engineering path, very impressive. The career field in the healthcare industry, totally blown away by it. But I was just couldn't imagine how great this was. This group of students started the business. It was your business group, your entrepreneurial program, where they actually started a business that is actually a for-profit business and is quite successful. I understood from the presentation where they market products for healthcare, and I was just blown away by that what your students are actually, and the teachers. And so Grand Terrace High School is really doing great things. You really earned this. And so the City of Grand Terrace Certificate of Recognition is presented to Grand Terrace High School in recognition of your 2024 California Distinguished School Award. You are commended for your commitment to providing students a positive pathway in education. Thank you for your outstanding contribution to excellence in education. Presented this 23rd day of April, 2024.
Thank you, Councilor Allen. Mayor Pro Tem, would you like to say some words?
Unmatchable. Been here since, at least the last 40-some-odd years. And we tried to wish the high school into existence, and then when it became something, it was amazing, and we knew what the possibilities were, but you've certainly fulfilled those possibilities. Your role as educators and facilitators are so valuable. There's no way to put a price tag on it. Bottom line is, you are the future, and we really appreciate your service.
Thank you. Councilor Henderson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My comments are somewhat indirectly related to Grand Terrace High School. Dr. Miranda, myself, Mayor Hussey participated in Read Across America at Terrace View Elementary. And so two of my neighbors observed the mayor and myself
at that event. One is 9 years old, and her brother is 7 years old, and they wanted to attend the city council meeting as a result of the speeches, not speeches, but the talks that we gave at Read Across America. So I'm just telling you that you have some future Grand Terrace award-winning students coming up to Grand Terrace High School, along with many of their friends and neighbors. Grand Terrace High School and the district as a whole is wonderful. I worked in a number of different communities, and the relationship with the Colton Joint Unified and the city of Grand Terrace is one to be emulated everywhere. And one last comment, smoke-free America, smoke-free Grand Terrace. The young lady is a dynamo. She wore me out, but but that is a wonderful program, and we're proud to participate in. And thank you again for your service.
Thank you. Councilman Allen, you have any additional words? Any comments?
No, I think we can just take pictures.
All right, well, before we do that, you get to hear me talk, and I'm short-winded, but no. You know what? Michelle, would you like to say anything? The fastest council member. You know, just push the button. There you go.
Okay. I would just like to say congratulations and kudos to all of you for the hard work that you've done. I mean, we've seen great people come through from Grand Terrace High School, great leadership, and the work that they just keep pouring into the community as well as through Colton Joint Unified. So thank you, everyone, because it does take a village for each of us to be able to pour into our next generation. So thank you.
Well, sorry, Michelle. It's going to take me a while to get used to, because as we were mentioning, I'm getting old up here, I guess. So it's maybe senile. I don't know. But you guys, your high school is a true blessing. I remember when they broke ground. I remember when we got together to get those bonds passed. It was a long, hard struggle. But I also remember how Colton Joint Unified School District works. I remember making sure that we take care of Bloomington and Colton, everybody, every elementary school and the whole Joint Unified middle school, nobody was left behind. So that's a true blessing. The teachers, the faculty are great. My sons were prepared for the world. I wasn't prepared for the college bill. I didn't get anything, but especially the colleges that they picked and a trade school. So, but great mentors, great leaders. And matter of fact, I'll point out Ron Perez. He works for your Unified School District, so I put him on the spot there but he also applied tonight. So you guys are a blessing. We are so proud of that high school, and we have Christine Boyce and Johan and stuff. We're gonna, it's great that we're gonna have a parade this year. We're gonna be honoring all those students and stuff, and we get to hear the band and stuff, and bring back that hometown feel, and honor our graduating class. Because I know it's hard out there in this world nowadays, but they're going to go out there, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and take on the world. And I've seen leaders come up here. We had one of your graduating students. I see him being a leader on some other stuff too one day. And I'm just very proud of all the students there at Colton Joint Unified. And I'm proud of the faculty and the staff and the school board members for everything you do. It's an unsung hero, a lot of your own time, and really caring for these kids and treating them like all his family. And that's a blessing right there. So we're going to go ahead and take a picture, but I just want to say God bless to all of you. Okay, so if you could join me up here, we'll take a picture. we got one more presentation here. Am I all right, Deborah? You give me that look.
No, you're fine.
Okay. So can I get a Carol Williams come down to the podium? Oh, man, would you like to say a few words? And we're recognizing it's for a National Day of Prayer proclamation.
Yes, I am Carol Williams, and I'm representing our team, the Inland Empire Prayer Breakfast Prayer Team. We have been doing the Inland Empire Prayer Breakfast for over 25 years in recognition of National Prayer Day, which was proclaimed by President Harry Truman. National Prayer Day is every first Thursday of every year, and we will be having ours at DoubleTree Hotel in Ontario, California. There are 35 churches that will be represented there, in addition to about 500 or more, at least 500 will be attending. These are people in the community, so we're here to receive a proclamation from the city of Grand Terrace.
Oh, great. We love to give you this proclamation. So I'm going to go ahead and read that, and then I'll have the council say a few words, and then we'll come up and present you with the award, and we'll take a picture.
Thank you.
Okay. So on the National Day of Prayer proclamation, whereas Americans have long turned to prayer both in times of joy and times of sorrow, on their voyage to the New World, the earliest settlers prayed that they would rejoice, mourn together, labor, and suffer together, always having before our eyes our commission and community in the work. And whereas from that day forward, Americans have prayed as a means of uniting, guiding, and healing. In times of hardship, tragedy, and periods of peace and prosperity, prayer has provided reinsurance, substance, and affirmation of common purpose. And whereas the National Day of Prayer is a traditional in the country dating back to 1775, and whereas at the time of our nation's history, when the power of prayer is needed more than ever, it is fitting that the individuals come together in the community to publicly demonstrate their faith in the power of divine intersections. And whereas in 1988, the first Thursday in May was permanently chosen as the National Day of Prayer. And whereas the National Day of Prayer belongs to all Americans, it is a day that transcends difference, bringing together citizens from all backgrounds. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Bill Hussey, the Mayor of the City of Grand Terrace, along with my fellow council members, proclaim May 2nd, 2024 as the National Day of Prayer, and invite the residents of the city to give thanks in accordance with their own faith and conscience for our many freedoms and blessings presented this day, 23rd of April, 2024. Mayor Pro Tem, would you like to say some words?
It's a wonderful opportunity to recognize the influence of God. And I'm excited that there are that many people that are actually gathering together in faith. Onward and upward.
Thank you, Councilman Allen.
Thanks, Mayor. Thank you, ma'am, for being here and for what you do. My mother's 93, and you know how often when people reach really, really old age, and sometimes people will ask them, say, well, what do you attribute your old age to? And sometimes they'll say a diet or exercise, or they dance, or they whatever. And she just says one word, prayer. Well, what'd you do, Mom? Prayer. I prayed. I just prayed. So there must be something to it. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Councilman Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have much to add to the proclamation that you just read, but I come from a prayerful family. My brothers and sisters, myself, matriculated through various schools and experiences, and had our difficulties and waywardness, and was always brought back by my mom and my dad's prayers on behalf of their children. So the fact that I sit here speaking to you right now is a testament to the benefits that I received as the result of the prayers of my parents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Sabalo? Yeah, I wanted you to say something.
I echo the same sentiments. Thank you for being here. As Councilman Henderson said, I am the product of prayer, and so I appreciate what you do annually. I've participated annually at National Day of Prayer breakfast, and it's just a beautiful event where everyone comes together. And so thank you again for all that you do.
Thank you.
So, Ms. Williams, you know, the thing we always pray for is wisdom, like Solomon said, and courage to do God's will and not the world's will. And, you know, Pastor Dane, he retired, and what he would tell you and talk to people, hey, can I pray for you right now? So I would like to pray right now, if everybody can join me for this National Day of Prayer. Just stay in your seats and bow your head for a couple minutes. Lord, I just want to thank you for gathering us here today for the National Day of Prayer, that we had the freedom to pray, God. We had the freedom to know our religion, God. We had the freedom to honor your will, Lord, and we had the freedom of this country, God. Lord, I just pray for peace throughout the world, Lord. I just pray that there be no starvation, no war, and that I just pray for our leaders, God. I pray for our leaders that you give them wisdom to do your wills, God. To do your will, Lord, that you called upon us to do. God, I pray for them to have courage to stand up for what's right. I pray for our men and women in the service, and I pray for all our first responders. I pray for our pastors, our church leaders, that they could stand up for your word, God. Lord, I pray for anybody who's suffering right now, that they could come to you in prayer, God, and they could come to you and every time peaceful, their daily devotions. God, your word is in the Bible, and your word is true, God. And I just ask that you give people the faith, the wisdom, and the courage that we need. And Lord, like I said, I just pray for peace. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. All right, ma'am, will you please join us at the podium? All right. Well, thank you very much. All right. Item E, the consent calendar. The following consent calendar items are expected to be routine and non-controversial. They'll be acted upon the city council at a time without discussion. Any council member, staff member, or citizens may remove the item of the consent calendar for discussion. Is there any public comment on any of the consent calendars?
No, Mayor.
Is there any request to remove any items?
Items 3 and 6, Mayor.
Item 3 and 6 for discussion,
Clarification.
clarification. All right. Any other items? Okay, so I need Michelle, you know which buttons to push up there? No, for the voting? Okay. See, we're looking out for you. Okay, so I need a motion for item 1, 2, 4, and 5.
I'll move items 1, 2, 4, and 5.
I have a second.
Second.
I have a first by Jeff and a second by Michelle. Go ahead and vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, item 3, Councilman Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the video surveillance item, which I support, I was under the impression that it was, well, my first question is, was this a budgeted item? And secondarily, I believe this was item number 4 in our priorities, legislative priorities. So I was wondering if there's a connection there and it needs to fall off our priorities if in fact the council approves this matter.
When we did the mid-year budget a couple of meetings ago,
I'm sorry, sir, I'm having a hard time hearing you.
sorry, when we did the mid-year budget a couple of meetings ago, this was one of the items that we discussed as far as having surplus at mid-year, being able to fund the law enforcement component of that. So at mid-year, we did do that. This is 12 cameras. To do the city properly, it's going to take 24 to 30 cameras. So this is a start. We'll continue to have the item as one of our priorities to complete that. And on top of that, there is an annual subscription for this. So there is an ongoing cost that we would, if we can get that as part of our legislative package or some type of traffic package, that would help. So we're not going to take it off, but this is one of those where if we're going to go ask for something, we're going to do it, help ourselves, and then ask for the piece that we can't make.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Appreciate that.
Any other questions on item 3? Michelle?
Sorry, just a brief question with regard to the estimate quoted in here. Does that also account for maintenance, software upgrades, and such?
That is the first 2 years of subscription, maintenance and upgrades and service, yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Now I got to move my neck around more. So I have a question. So are we getting with the Sheriff's Department on where to place these cameras, our first installment?
Yes, Sheriff's Intelligence Division has made the recommendations on the locations, and we will be following their recommendations on the locations that will provide the best coverage.
So one good thing about these cameras, because everybody thinks, oh, law enforcement, Big Brother's going to be looking at me, but it also helps for, human trafficking. And my son, who's Riverside PD, they use it a lot for the Amber Alerts and stuff like that, and also helps our law enforcement for crimes too. So there's more than other things. So Councilmember Allen?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Hey, Ms. City Manager, are the cameras we have in place at this time, the Alpers that we have, will we retain those, and are those a different system, or will they integrate, or are we going to replace them?
They are a different system. They do not integrate. We will retain them until they basically hit the end of life, and then when they end of life, we'll phase them out. Most of them are still working, and they're still useful. They just don't integrate with this. This system integrates with our neighboring jurisdictions, so we really have kind of a web through the region, not just our own little pocket.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Any other questions? No? Okay, can I get a motion in a second?
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Henderson.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Allen. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 6, Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question for the city manager. In your opinion, sir, will this report negatively impact our housing element submission to the State Housing and Community Development Department?
Not at all. This is just the annual report that we have to tabulate what we've done. There's no negative impacts. There's no potential sites that have been taken off the list, and it does nothing to slow down our work towards having an approved housing element.
Thank you, sir.
Bless you. Any other questions? No? Can I get a motion and a second?
Move approval.
Moved by Councilmember Henderson.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Savala. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, thank you. Let's see, what else we got here? Public hearing, none. Unfinished business, none. New business, future agenda items requested. Councilmember Allen discussed the reconsideration, his March 26, 2024, second to Councilmember Henderson's motion to bring back the Gaza-Palestine ceasefire resolution, presented by Conrad Bolovich, City Manager.
So we had the request for future agenda item. On this, Councilmember Allen had requested to reconsider his second, and we are open for discussion on that.
Okay. Do you have any questions, Councilmember Allen? No, but I'll tell you why I did. Well, let's, should we go ahead and explain right now, or, yes, go ahead, Councilmember Allen.
So it's pretty kind of simple, kind of semantics thing. So I know that, Councilmember Henderson put forward the motion. It passed unanimously, but it went right over my head, and I didn't really think about it. This is a resolution that we're passing, and then I got to looking at the other ones that we had used as examples, or that were used as examples in the presentation, other cities, Alhambra and Pasadena and those. And they're all proclamations. And so I thought, well, I looked at it, there's a difference between a proclamation and a resolution. And so that's why I discussed it with the city manager. I said, I think we need to make this a proclamation rather than a resolution. And I actually wanted to try to make it simplified. And I said, can we just kind of change the word? But he and I in this discussion felt like, well, this is something that probably should come back because I had to make a second. So we need to, and it was a motion, which I had to second. So in order for me to correct it, I have to withdraw the second, but I was just going to ask, the original person who put forward the motion, Councilmember Henderson, if he wanted to change it to a proclamation rather than a resolution, then I would, reaffirm my second to that. That's what our discussion centered on.
Okay, City Attorney, can they do that motion now to change it, or we have to squash both of this and bring it back for a future agenda with the proper wording? That's
Right. So what's on the agenda is a motion to reconsider the item, which would basically be a motion by Councilmember Allen to take this off the table for now. If he wants to make a motion in the future agenda items for a proclamation, you can do that. Alternatively, if you wanted to withdraw your motion for reconsideration, have the discussion about doing a resolution and change it during that discussion, you're welcome to do that.
So we actually could just change it from a
Yeah, I mean,
resolution to proclamation.
under the Brown Act, the subject matter has to be on the agenda. The subject matter is on the agenda for the next item. So if you wanted to proceed with that, whether you do it as a resolution or proclamation, I think the public is generally aware of the discussion item that you'll be having.
Right on.
So it's up to you.
So would it be better just to squash the whole thing if they want to do a new future agenda to bring up the proper wording? So we could bring it back for people on public comment, or you want to just change it?
It would be up to Councilmember. It could be either way.
Well, let these two figure it out.
If the city attorney's saying that we don't, let me make sure I understand it right. We don't really, this doesn't have to go away. It can be changed. The word resolution for proclamation could just be changed and it could continue on tonight. Is that correct?
That is correct. The way the agenda is worded is discussion on whether to bring back to the City Council a Gaza-Palestinian ceasefire resolution. The general subject matter is available to the public. If you wanted to change the form, I think that's within the scope of the agenda item.
Right. Okay.
So it's like, for example, an example is a contract versus a purchase order. If we say, no, we'd rather enter into a contract versus doing a purchase order, the general subject matter, again, is on the agenda.
Okay. So
my suggestion, in case it's relevant, we have members in the audience who have been waiting for this item to come up, and so they could provide their input to the council. I think, speaking personally, when a council member suggests an item for a future agenda, I routinely support that motion, whether or not I agree with the topic or the item being proposed. There may be one or two of those on tonight's agenda as well. So it's important for the community to understand that a suggested item for a future agenda by any council member doesn't mean that there is council approval or support for that particular topic. That's a really important distinction, especially on a matter like this where there are varying opinions, very strongly held opinions, and folks who want to testify before the council relative to their thoughts on the matter. And I was hopeful, since it's taken a while to get to this point, that we could hear from those individuals and the council could discuss and take action, if necessary, as appropriate. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well,
Thank you, Councilor Allen.
well, okay, it doesn't seem like it needs to be a really big deal, okay? I mean, a resolution, a proclamation can be built into a resolution, but a resolution is not built into a proclamation. So we can have the proclamation. It's pretty simple, cut straightforward, and we could, word it any way that the interested parties would like to be a part of that, or if you want to do something like that. I just want us to make sure that we're putting forward I just feel a proclamation is the correct path to take rather than a resolution. A proclamation states our desire, I guess you could say, or our wishes, and a resolution, though, requires, it leads to an action, and we're not taking an action here. We're just stating our desire for whatever is in the proclamation.
I'm not concerned about what form it takes. If a proclamation is what's appropriate, assuming council action at some point. For me, the discussion we hope to have, or the topic, is just responding to citizens' requests to have this matter considered by the council. There are varying opinions, as I said, strongly held. But in response to that, I suggested, I was persuaded by the passion and eloquence of the speaker requesting this, and so I recommended that we agendize this matter, and all of you supported that. Now, having the matter agendized, I did not assume in the discussions that I've had with citizens that just because the council as a whole approved that this matter be considered at a future agenda does not mean that the council supports a proclamation or resolution or any other form of action in connection with this topic. But to be clear, I have no concerns about what action the council would take, and if it takes an action, that it be in the form of a proclamation rather than a resolution.
Well, I agree with you. It sounds like you would like to see this move right along, because there's been such a time frame of delay in it, and I agree with you there, and I'm right with you on that, everything you said. I just think that the proclamation is the right thing for us to put out.
I have no issues.
And I would do it tonight. I would be happy to do it tonight if we can.
Okay. City Attorney, can you explain the difference between a proclamation and a resolution?
Well, really, it's, for all intents and purposes, it's very similar. It's very similar. So a resolution is really, we resolve as follows and state that. We have proclamations at the beginning of the meeting, which basically say the same thing. It's not so much, it's more ceremonial, if anything. Is really the difference is the proclamation is more ceremonial, resolution is more considered official business policy. So it's really the desire of the council.
I was just following following sort of the lead of all the other cities that have done this in California with
Okay.
proclamations.
All right. So you want to do public comment, then we'll come back for further discussion.
For item number 7, we have no public comment.
Do we have one for 8 then?
No, we do not.
Okay. So no public comment for 7 or 8. So council have any more item for discussion? Do you want to discuss anything else? No? So here's what I'm thinking. We want to, be fair and impartial to let a citizen ask for a future agenda item, which is on here at the beginning of my statement. This future agenda item also is very touchy in a lot of ways. Is our city getting involved in foreign affairs? Is our city going out of our pay scale? Is our city putting our nose where we shouldn't be? Is our city concerned about the issues? So that's the big question. What are we doing? Are we going to be spending staff hours on this resolution for something that, even if we vote on it, that the world doesn't really care about it? Only select individuals care about it? Are we going to, because I don't even know what the other cities besides them doing it, what they got out of it, besides just letting them know that, hey, ceasefire in Palestine. And how do we not show that we're being biased? Because, if we didn't have any ceasefire in Ukraine, we didn't have any ceasefire in Syria. I could go on and on about no ceasefires. So seeing all these world events and everything, I mean, talk about prayer. I've been really in prayer on this. And what do we do? And I can't see a resolution or a proclamation for either thing. I think this is, I voted on it for respect and to bring this to agenda. I think here we already got 2 agendas and we're already spending staff hour time on this. I think personally that we should just let the matter go and just, I know you're going to say continue prayer, but I think we're overstepping our city boundary and our city limits, what we should do has nothing to do with the city. It does have to do with some of our residents, but has nothing to do with the city, and us doing a resolution or proclamation is not going to make any difference. So that's my comments. Any other comments from anybody?
I have a comment.
Councilman Henderson?
It's clear that the subject matter is outside the jurisdiction of the city council. No issue with that. It's also clear that it will have no practical effect. No issue with that. It would, however, in my opinion, be a symbolic act that may or may not satisfy the concerns of those involved. I once thought that consideration of this matter in what I characterize as a studiously neutral position was possible, that it would not be perceived as anti-Israel, pro-Hamas, anti-Hamas, pro-Israel. I thought that if there was an unconditional ceasefire, meaning no conditions attached to it, to eliminate civilian deaths was my thinking, that might generate support from the community at large. That may or may not be the case. But in thinking about this and talking to various parties since the item first came before the council, I talked to the various parties, and I thought that there might be a way to resolve this at the lowest responsible level. And the lowest responsible level from my perspective is the citizen level, not the city council level. So I spoke to one citizen, Ms. Terry Nichols, I spoke to Sarah Wilson, the sponsor of this potential council action, but not in connection with this issue, with the discussion of where to go from here. So it seems to me that the best approach, or a possible best approach, would be to have Ms. Wilson and Ms. Nichols meet and discuss this matter and present to the council at the appropriate time a solution that they could support, being on opposite sides of the issue. That doesn't mean it's a proclamation, doesn't mean it's a resolution, doesn't even mean that a matter comes back before the council. But I think it would be educational and appropriate for the two sides, so to speak, to discuss this matter and try to resolve it at the lowest responsible level. I mean, we're talking about a conflict that's lasted in some form or another since 1948. So, in my view, the best approach for potential conflict resolution is to have the principals involved discuss the matter amongst themselves and report to the council as appropriate. This assumes that Ms. Wilson would want to participate in this process. Ms. Nichols indicated to me earlier this evening when I submitted it to her, that she would be amenable to such an approach.
So, no, I agree. It's you know, if you vote on one thing, it's going to get one side mad. You vote on another thing, you get the other side mad. But like I said, it's a bad situation, and it's terrible, all the innocents' lives, and I understand what you're saying. But will you be willing to sit there with them in a meeting, Councilman Henderson?
Only if it became necessary and I was requested. It's not my desire or inclination to do so, but if the principals believe that that would be helpful, then certainly I would serve.
Well, you would be a mediator.
That could possibly be a role to play, yes. I've had really good, frank discussions with both parties, and I'm in agreement on some issues and I disagree on other issues, but my personal position is not a factor in this, and neither of these ladies know what my personal position is, and that's going to remain the case because that wasn't my intent, that wasn't my assumption. I guess you could say, naive in thinking that if we wanted to reduce or eliminate civilian deaths, regardless of what happens with Hamas and the Israeli Defense Forces, they can continue to fight and whatnot. But if we could do something that would eliminate civilian deaths, or not eliminate, but reduce it, I thought it was a worthy cause.
Okay.
Events have shown me otherwise, but I think it's still worth an effort in that regard. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem, you had something?
Mayor, a point of order. I believe what is on the dais for consideration is whether or not this issue is a item that we should take purview over. And I honestly believe that this is an issue that should be handled either individually or through groups with a much higher authority that can actually accomplish something. After all, the measure of the fruit is what really shows good works. And so for that reason, I would not support a proclamation or a resolution from the city.
Okay. Councilman Allen?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. So I just want to bring your attention back to what item number 7 is. This is supposed to be a discussion to reconsider my second to Councilmember Henderson's motion. This is not a discussion on whether to actually do a proclamation or a resolution. It's a discussion on my second. Now, I want to ask the city attorney, will it require a majority vote of the council to pull my second back.
So it will require, number one, whoever voted in the majority to
Right.
make the motion to reconsider, and then a second on that motion, and then a majority vote.
So, and I voted, we all voted it was a unanimous vote, so I put forward this.
Okay.
And I need a second.
So if you would like to reconsider the item, which is basically to take item 8 off the agenda, you make that motion. If there's a second to second the motion, then we would have a vote.
Right, so that's what this item's about, this discussion. I just wanted to remind us all, so we're not discussing all about world politics and things like that. And I actually think that a proclamation, maybe we should just make it, you had a really great point. There are conflicts worldwide. Why are we not saying a proclamation, a very simple proclamation, that the city of Grand Terrace is opposed to death and destruction and violence worldwide, and we support peace and love and all that stuff. Some sort of a proclamation that covers, so it's not just such a hot button political one where we're only voting on, do we support a resolution or a proclamation just for what's going on in Gaza? No, you mentioned Ukraine, you mentioned all the others, so if you want to do something like that, then involve everything, every conflict there is, so that everybody is satisfied.
Okay.
And a simple proclamation shouldn't take staff an hour, so I don't understand this.
So this is the whole reason. So do you want to bring this as a proclamation that you have now, or you want to just pull item 7, then item 8 would be dead? Are we voting on to remove without going into proclamation or anything, or you want to vote on removing your item?
Yeah, that's what 7 is. It's a vote on removing my second from the motion for a resolution.
Okay. And then once his is removed, 8 is dead.
That is correct.
Okay. Any other questions?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, once the second is removed, what was your
So
comment?
once the item 7, if we vote on that and we vote yes to remove his second, the item 8 has no second, and then the item's dead, and then a future comments our future agenda items got to be brought back again.
Thank you.
All right. City Attorney.
But if there's no second and no vote, then the item stays and we make a resolution.
Yes. So,
Mr. Mayor, maybe I'll just put it on the table. So is there a motion to reconsider the item to consider a resolution on the Gaza-Palestinian ceasefire matter? Is there a motion to reconsider that? You could say so moved.
So moved. That's the motion I put forward, yep.
Is there a second?
so I second this before, to take away his second.
It's not to take away the second. It's basically to eliminate item 8.
Yes, second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to reconsider the item of bringing the Palestine-Gaza ceasefire resolution. May we have a vote?
So after this is voted, and if it's yes, it's item 8's removed. If it's no, then item 8 stays.
That is correct, yes.
All right, Madam City Clerk, we're ready to, is it council ready? Any other questions before we go into vote? Well, we closed public comment already. So are you ready for us to vote? Okay, please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, so item 8 is no longer.
Correct.
And then
If anybody wishes to bring the subject matter again in the future, they can put it on a future agenda item request.
so or if anybody wishes to give with Councilmember Henderson and be a mediator, that he could bring those people to talk together. And then we could look at a future agenda item if they want to go that route.
If we wanted to do something as a body, then yes, we would bring it back as a future agenda item.
Even though this isn't on here, that's just what I'm throwing out there, so.
Well, you mentioned my name. I wasn't sure what you were saying, so if you could repeat it for the...
I'm sorry. What you discussed earlier about the 2 individuals talking, and if you wanted to be in the room, being a mediator, and then maybe look at a future agenda item for what they discussed.
I don't know that Ms. Wilson is receptive to this idea.
Okay, well, that was just a suggestion, so if they want to reach out to you, you'll be the liaison for us.
I can do that, sir.
Okay. All right. Item 9, councilman requesting panhandling, presented by Scott Hunter.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, members of the council, public in attendance and watching tonight. This is an informational item to brief the council and the community on how is panhandling handled in Grand Terrace. To understand that, we have to first know about that in the state of California, panhandling is treated as an expression of protected speech, and that can never be prohibited by any state, county, or local city government. What that means for us in Grand Terrace is that any sort of panhandling ordinance that we or any other government would enact would have to follow the First Amendment's constitutional right of freedom of speech. And that constitutional right of freedom of speech is applicable to both the state and local governments, such as the city of Grand Terrace. So therefore, in our research, any sort of local ordinance that would be prohibiting any kind of panhandling would most likely conflict with and or violate the First Amendment and lead to ramifications. However, in researching and understanding panhandling in the state of California, there is California Penal Code that addresses panhandling. Specifically, there is California Penal Code section 647C, which specifically addresses the act of panhandling when that act goes simply beyond asking and crosses into threats, harassment, and or intimidation tactics. Specifically, it reads, quote unquote, every person who willfully and maliciously obstructs the free movement of any person on any street, sidewalk, or other public place, or on or in any place open to the public is guilty of a misdemeanor. So as written, the Penal Code section 647C is enforceable only to public places. It does not apply to private property, as on private property, the owner of the private property is responsible for enforcing anything against the panhandling, which typically leads to trespassing charges under Penal Code 602. Therefore, there's clear distinctions between public and private property, and for the benefit of the council and the public, the differences are typically on a public, the examples would be a public park, a government building, a public bus, city street, sidewalk. Examples of a private property would be, as you would expect, a private store, place of business, a private residence, property around your yard, so to speak, around your private residence. So where does it cross the line when panhandling violates 647C of the Penal Code? That'll be when a panhandler willfully and maliciously obstructs the free movement of any person on a public street, public sidewalk, public building, on a public transportation system, a public place, or any other place open to the public. When that happens, then they are committing a misdemeanor crime. When panhandling becomes willfully and malicious, at that point of accosting an individual, the sheriff's department should be notified immediately so that they can respond to the situation. When a panhandler violates Penal Code 647C, some of the more frequent criminal charges that can be occurred but are not limited to are the following: stalking, which is Penal Code 646.9, disorderly conduct, which is Penal Code 647, and also disturbing the peace, which is Penal Code 415. When such an occurrence occurs and happens, the best recourse is for the victim to contact the sheriff's department via 911. Typically, a violation of the Penal Code 647C, if it results in a conviction, the maximum penalty that can be imposed is up to 1 year in jail or a $1,000 fine upon the panhandler that has been convicted. In conclusion, the Penal Code 647C provides the Sheriff Department the statutory authority to address any malicious obstruction of any person by a panhandler on any street, sidewalk, or public place, or place open to the public in the city of Grand Terrace. It's important to note that the fiscal impact of panhandling and enforcing illegal panhandling is that law enforcement, in responding to this, it's all contingent upon ensuring the funding and allocating budget to keep up with the costs, provide all the necessary services for the city. Any future consideration providing more direct action on the panhandling matter in the city should include a fiscal analysis that explores what funding is necessary for the sheriff, their response, and how to meet the city council's directives when it comes to addressing any panhandling issues within the community of Grand Terrace. And lastly, this agenda item and staff report is consistent with our 2030 vision statement in that our vision statement has goal number 2, which is maintain the public safety by ensuring staff levels for police services remain adequate for the Grand Terrace community. And again, those staff levels provided by the Sheriff's Department, and their goal is to provide the safety and protection of the lives and property of Grand Terrace and its residents through courteous and professional public service, problem solving, crime prevention, and law enforcement. So that concludes staff's presentation on this item. I'm available for any comments or questions that the council or the public may have.
Does the council have any questions? No? Okay.
I
Go
do.
ahead.
So this is, you know, I'd like to know, you know, who the council member was that requested this. Was it you? Okay, that's great. I think that our names need to, all our names need to be in there. But my question is, when you said that when the panhandler or when panhandling becomes aggressive is when it crosses the line, right? Or something like that? And so is that subjective? Who makes that determination that that line's been crossed? What action? Is it, does somebody have to physically touch someone else, or do they have to just, can I just say, hey, I'm afraid you've crossed the line. You scare me.
Well, my understanding is you would contact the Sheriff's Department, and through their investigation and their arrival, they would make that determination of what's occurring. But if you feel like you're being victimized, you definitely want to contact the law enforcement.
Is this something that would require the deputy to be an eyewitness?
Can we hear from the Sheriff's Department?
Yeah, I think the sheriff can speak on that. Yeah.
First of all, and I'll get to answer your question here. It was a great report. He covered the elements of 647C pretty well. To answer your question as clearly as I can, the term accost is what's referred to in the penal code. It is subjective. However, there are certain elements that are spelled out. One is impeding your direction of travel. So if somebody, as you're entering grocery outlet, panhandler steps in front of your way and now restricts your freedom of movement, that satisfies that element. If they are following you through the store, continually asking for money or handouts of any kind, that also satisfies that element. So if the person feels threatened in any way as a result of this interaction with the panhandler, that also satisfies that element. So yes, they are subjective, however, they are somewhat measurable. What will happen is, if we are contacted and we are there to speak with the parties, it will ultimately result in a citizen's arrest. We will have the victim, the person who's being bothered or harassed, sign a citizen's arrest form. Because misdemeanors in this state require a victim and the crime to be committed in a law enforcement presence. And if we're not there to see it, we just can't simply arrest somebody for what somebody else says. So we would direct that person, and we have these forms available that they would sign a citizen's arrest form, and then that arrest would take place. It could result in a trip to jail. It could result in a citation. But that decision would be made by the deputy at the time based on the circumstances.
Well, that answered my question. Thank you very much.
Councilor Henderson, you have a question?
Is this for questions or comments?
Just questions right now. We'll come back for comments.
No questions. Thank you.
Okay, Mike. Michelle? Councilor Escobar?
No questions, thank you.
Okay. So the question I have, since I brought this up, was, do we need the signage there to do the citations or arrest? I know you said that the businesses, but can we put signage on our public right-of-way before it goes into business? Because, is it needed to make the citation or the arrest?
Well, I think, yes, you can post the signs advertising 647C as a violation and just a brief description of panhandling. Again, it applies to private places such as the stores in and around the shopping areas. Those elements still have to be met, however, and if the city is willing to, or considering some sort of an ordinance that might further restrict more strictly than what's covered in 647C, I think that would probably open up the city for some form of liability for overreach on the First Amendment.
I understand that,
statutes.
but I'm just asking if, would it be feasible for the city? I know we can't go into public, the stores and stuff, because, you know, the things are there for the stores to reach out and have the signs. But on our public right-of-way, before somebody goes into those private places, which is still the city's responsibility, even at parks and stuff like you said, because you do have people coming to parks and everywhere else panhandling. But would it be advised to have the city put up signs on the public right-of-way at the driveways before they go into the place of business?
Yeah,
So that way people know.
You can put the signs up. The signs are a warning that if that behavior takes place, then they could be subject to arrest for panhandling. Still, those elements would have to be met. Just placing a sign up does not state that we can just come in and immediately arrest. We would have to look at all the circumstances there, but the signs are a good warning, just like trespass signs. To effect a trespass arrest, there has to be a warning, a direction to leave, and a failure to leave. That would be the same sort of philosophy here with the panhandling.
So without the signs, they can still enforce this, but the person can't claim ignorance and say, I didn't know anything about 647, something, whatever,
Right.
and it can still be enforced?
As long as the elements of the violation.
Laws
are
and
there.
elements, okay.
Yes.
Any other questions? Okay, you have a comment? We'll do the comments after public comment. Do we have any public comments?
No public comment.
I see a hand waving by Bobby Forbes, and we'll get her. And then Bobby Forbes, we'll need you to fill out a request to speak form, please.
Thank you. Prior to J.C. Wallace opening, Lieutenant Lane had some flyers made up, and I went door to door to many of the businesses in town, and only 2 put them up, 3Bs and I believe the grocery outlet. That was it. And 3B still has their sign up out in front of their store. I don't think anybody else has the sign up, and it's a nice sign about this big that you provided. And when we were starting to have problems with the homeless, starting to work their way up as past Stater Brothers into town, that's how that came about. And it was really disappointing, I thought, that the businesses wouldn't put that sign up. I also contacted Anita, the manager of the shopping center where Grocery Outlet is, and she said she was going to get signs put up regarding panhandling, skateboarding, et cetera. To the best of my knowledge, she has not done that. Dr. Sigstead has those signs up at our office building. At least it gives us some power if there is an issue, and I do call the sheriff because people have figured out we have outlets in our building outside, and they come and they use them for their government phones to plug in. And so that's scary for me because I no longer go to work at night because there's people on our building. And it's just really sad that the businesses themselves who are going to be affected by the people panhandling are not willing to do something simple like put up the signs that the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department has provided for us in the past. I'll fill out the form. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I just mention something real quick, Mayor?
Sure.
Those signs that she's referring to are really more of a public awareness campaign. I don't know if I've shared them with the city in the past, but they're about, I don't know, this tall and about that wide, and it's just a, to get people to be thinking about the impacts of panhandling and the contributions that they make. It's not the type of sign that you want to put up in front of the stores or in front of the parks. That would be something a little bit more specific. But those paper signs were handed out to some of the stores, and forgive me, I don't remember the lady's name from the chamber. She's been here at a couple meetings and spoke. I provided her with metal versions of those signs as well for stores if they wanted to put those up. They're a lot more durable, weatherproof and all that. And I do have those available for anybody who would like them, or I can get some more paper signs. But again, that's not the type of sign that you would be looking at.
So we actually had a couple dozen of the metal signs made to be passed out, and haven't had any real takers, and none of them been placed up.
Yeah.
But as the lieutenant said, it would be more of a very specific, aggressive panhandling under this section is prohibited in this space. From a practical standpoint, placing it in front of parks or in the entryways to parks is much more doable than in the right-of-way coming into driveways to stores, because that's going to start causing issues with sight line coming in and out of the driveways. So those by nature will have to be set farther back, and they may not be very effective when they're 30 or 40 feet away from the driveway where you come in.
Okay, we'll close public comment and bring it back to council for comments. Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As soon as I read the staff report and indicated that the problem would have to occur on private property and would need to be enforced by the private property owner, I didn't think there was a significant role, if any, for the city to play. Ms. Forbes touches upon an issue, a concern of mine, which is if you can't get the business owner or the landlord or the property owner to put up an appropriate sign, I think you're swinging and missing. And lastly, and most importantly, the staff report indicates that there's a significant cost to an enforcement program like this. And the city managers indicated that that is problematic for us at this point in time. We have limited law enforcement resources. I understand from time to time there may be an issue with vagrancy or panhandling, but to me it's a problem in search of a solution, and we don't have that solution right now. Essentially, we're not on the item yet, but I feel the same way on the succeeding item regarding street takeovers and street racing. They're already against the law.
Okay, let's stay on this one.
Yeah.
Any other comments? So basically, the best solution would be that the chamber goes to its members and recommend that they put that item on their, they can't force them, but to make a strong recommendation that they're complaining about panhandlers. I'm sorry if you didn't hear me. That the chamber will talk to their businesses who are part of the chambers and make a strong recommendation to put those signs up, because we can't force them to put those signs up.
Actually, there's two solutions, and that's the first one, and a great solution that the chamber encourages, and we as the city encourage our business to be proactive, really take a stance for that. And when they see it, and I think we're having this problem throughout the community on a larger scale, things happen, and they call the mayor, they call the city manager, they call whoever, call the sheriffs. They're the guys who are going to come out and do something about it. To encourage to call law enforcement. And then the other piece of that solution is, and we've kicked it around 3 or 4 times, and we continue to do so every meeting, is more law enforcement, so that we have the officers that can be there and intervene in a timely manner. So this is a two-pronged approach. Certainly more information and encourage the businesses, work with them, and then in the longer run, be able to have the law enforcement to enforce this.
Can the business that is leasing from the landlord put up the signs even if the landlord says no?
They can put it up inside their window, inside the store, and depending on their lease, and that would be a landlord-tenant issue, whether or not they can put it outside the store on the wall or somewhere in the center.
Okay. Councilman Allen?
I know in some of our neighboring cities and around in Southern California, like Pasadena, Redlands, other cities, they have some people, some of them call it an ambassador program, others, where these are, people who are out in the public. They wear a simple uniform. They're not sworn. A lot of times they're on bicycles or they're walking, but and I'm not saying something like that, like we hire or we fund something like that, but I'm just saying this might be an idea that property owners, commercial property owners might have to turn to, would be something similar to this in their retail environment. You could have one in the complex where Grocery Outlet is and another one in the complex where Woody's is. I don't know. I'm just trying to brainstorm here some ways that property owners, that's, taking some responsibility and
that's the big thing of them taking responsibility. So, any other comments? Because if not, I'm going to pull this item and I'll ask a second because I don't think we could move forward on this because we already got the answers. No, we asked.
I was just going to say, in connection with the last comment by Mr. Allen, if I sound pessimistic, it's because I am. If we can't get the affected property owners to put up signs, I don't see a possibility of them paying for an ambassador-type program. I'm familiar with what you're saying. They work well, but there's a connection between the chamber and the city and private business that we don't have here as it currently stands.
So,
I agree with you, Mr. Mayor, in terms of removing it from the agenda or doing whatever we need to do to dispose of it.
Yes, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can I go ahead and pull the item? Because I don't think it's going to go anywhere, and I don't want to waste yours.
I would actually just recommend a motion to receive and file the report.
Okay. So I'd like to make a motion to receive and file item 9, council member requesting panhandling. So I have a second for it?
Second.
Second.
By who?
Please vote.
By who? I'm sorry, you both were simultaneous. Can you identify who made the second?
I made a motion, Councilman Henry second, so
Thank you.
can we vote now? Okay.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, item 10, thank you, Scott, for your briefing. Item 10, future agenda item request, discuss whether to bring back the ordinance adding additional enforcement of street racing and street takeovers, presented by Conrad Bolovich, City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, council members, this item was brought forward by Councilmember Allen, and let me double check here. It was seconded by Councilmember Henderson to bring forward again. And it supports the goal number 2, maintaining public safety and ensuring staff levels for police services remain adequate for our community. So to jump right in, this is kind of going to sound like a repeat of the record, but there is California Vehicle Code 23109A that addresses speed contests. So essentially, any type of speeding, racing, showing off the powers of your vehicle on a highway or an off-street parking facility is already covered under this, and is a misdemeanor and punishable by up to 1 year in jail, and also includes the impoundment of the vehicle for up to 30 days. So it also goes on to section 23103 that has the same thing for reckless driving. There's 2 sections actually, A and B, reckless driving with a license and then reckless driving without a license, but it all boils down to the same thing. So that the displays of speed, the spinning around in circles, all that would happen at street racing would fall into that reckless driving component. And then the final piece of that is on 23109.2, it also discusses the ability to seize vehicles for up to 30 days for the reckless driving, the speeding, the exhibition, and for, I'm trying to remember where the section is in here. There was one section as far as encouraging, supporting, so if you're the pit man, the starter, those kind of people, you fall under that category as well. There is in your packet an exhibition from the city of Compton who did extend this a little bit farther. So they added spectators as individuals abetting, which would be like the pit guy or the starter guy under 23109B. And Compton's ordinance also under certain conditions, goes into a method to where the vehicle can actually be seized and forfeited. But what really comes down to the same issue as with the panhandling, and we saw it in the last couple of weekends. You know, the sheriff or lieutenant is too modest, but they were extremely successful last weekend off of Tippecanoe, where there was an event, and the officers came across it, and there were enough resources closer to the station, closer to other places, where they could get in, block off the parking lot, and they were able to arrest people and impound people and actually do some positive enforcement. What happens here is that there's one officer, and by the time he shows up, he can't block off the parking lot, they scatter, then they go someplace else. And so it comes back to a matter of resources, and you know, we could add the Compton piece, that if we catch them, but first we got to catch them. And there was one other component that in passing, Councilmember Allen asked for looking at ways that are built into an intersection, dot bots or something that would break traction as they're trying to spin around. That is something we need to explore with our street engineers and see if that is something that's a possibility. So it's open for you for questions. And then once again, you can either receive or file or give direction that we take further action. Thank you.
Councilor Allen?
So, thanks, Mayor. I have a question for you, Mr. City Manager. We have a ordinance that was passed a few years back in response to a bunch of illegal dumping that was being done down at the end of Terrace Avenue. Might have been a year or two before you came here, but in that ordinance, correct me if I'm wrong, this is my question to you. Is it correct that if a vehicle is caught dumping illegally in the city, that vehicle can be seized and forfeited? That's what my understanding is, that the ordinance is that the vehicle, you know, can be seized and forfeited for illegal dumping. And the reason I'm asking you that is because that was what I was using in my mind whenever I came to you with this future agenda. This discussion was, you know, can the vehicle violating this be, rather than in our ordinance it says can be seized but not impounded for more than 30 days, and that was the suggestion based on the Compton, you know, ordinance is, can we seize it and it be forfeited permanently?
So currently we cannot, and I don't know about the dumping one, I have to research that, but currently we cannot seize and forfeit the vehicle. The sheriffs can impound it for up to 30 days, and then they can recover the vehicle. The Compton ordinance is in addition to current state law, and that does provide a pathway for forfeiture, but there's some fairly extensive court hearings, findings, appeals processes that would have to happen. And like I said, first we got to catch them. But there is, under the Compton model, the ability for forfeiture at some point, yes.
So, and you are correct that when we had this discussion, my first line of offense was to prevent it rather than try to combat it. If we can prevent it with traffic engineering devices, you know, or parking lot engineering devices, then, you know, that would save huge resources, time, and all that.
And
so
some of
thank
those
you for
things,
that.
some of those things we see as we're building new parking lots. There's a reason that there's planters with trees every third or fourth space, so you don't have those wide open places that you can do this. Unfortunately, we have some of the, you know, grocery outlet centers, wide open parking lots, and the Stater Brothers is one of the last centers that was built before we put in those type of things, you know, outside the trees. There's another reason for those.
Michelle, you have a question? I saw your light on.
Sorry.
No? You have a question?
Just a statement. I mean, because
Well, we'll do statements in a minute.
Sorry.
That's
then-
all right.
Then no question.
Okay. Question for Lieutenant Lane. What's your suggestion for this item here?
Well, I think that where Compton's going with this is very interesting. However, we already have in place what we need to make progress with this as it happens here in this city. We've been fortunate The incident that city manager was talking about was actually the group that has come here that decided to go to Highland instead, and they were caught in and around that area. The subject that tried to escape from us was doing so very recklessly and had a 3-year-old in the car with him at the time. So that is secondary behavior that actually made his matters much worse. But if you happen to catch Channel 5 recently and in the newspaper, there was a more recent event that occurred just a couple days ago that caught a lot of attention. And it was the same type of thing. This happened over off Hospitality, and that ended up in pursuit of a vehicle or two, and the subject was arrested. He went to jail, and the car went to jail for 30 days. So we already have the tools that we need to affect basically the result that you want. What would be better for us, obviously, is what the city manager is talking about, more hands to be able to do that. And I think we've got some progress that we're making with that. So I think things may change. One of the other interesting things that came up out of the one up on Tippecanoe in Highland was a deputy working here in the city, using his skill with social media, happened to find that group's Instagram page and knew now what day they were coming and when they were going to be there. And we got there at about the same time they did. So we got lucky on that. And that doesn't always happen, but it's a combination of things that have to come together for us to be successful in these things. And obviously more of us makes a huge difference. So we're working on that. But as far as trying to consider an ordinance to strengthen that, I think we already have the tools that we need to do that. So that's kind of my position on that. We already have it. It's just a matter of catching them.
Okay, well, question, and watching the news and reading the news, spectators.
Mm-hmm.
The spectators are actually surrounding the cop cars, police officers, because you're one person or maybe two. So the spectators are being a big influence on making sure that you guys can't do your job. So what is the ratification for the spectators, besides him interfering with a law enforcement officer, but being there because they're doing it, and then now you're getting a crowd and mob mentality, and they're putting the officers and everybody else in harm's way. So what can we do for that?
Well, in addition to chasing the cars that are actually doing it, anybody that gets in our way and interferes with us, they're going to go to jail. There are several laws on the books already that deal with that. That's 148. There's also conspiracy. So if they are there and they are contributing to the event taking place and then interfering in what we're trying to do, conspiracy is a great charge. It's 2 or more people working in concert. And the decision that they already made to be there, they've already satisfied that. So if we're able to catch some of those people as well, that's an additional charge. That's a good one. Conspiracy is a felony, especially if a felony is being committed, and it can be if there's injury or likelihood of serious injury that occurs as a result of these activities. So again, we have a number of things that we can throw at them that's already on the books. It's just catching them that's the tricky part.
Yes. Okay, any other questions? Councilman.
Just a quick question. In the last 3 months, 6 months, how many times have you been, or has the department been dispatched out for takeovers in Grand Terrace specifically? And on average, has the size been similar in which, how many officers are having to respond every time? Because if we're needing to bring in more outside resources, what is that?
So I want to say that there's maybe 4 that have happened here in the city over the last 6 weeks or so. Okay. The group itself ranges anywhere from 30 cars to about 100 cars, depending on who participates. It's the same group as far as I'm aware. The first time in dealing with it, we utilized everybody that we had on our shift, which brought people from Loma Linda out in the county area, as well as the casinos. So we had about 7 units here to deal with that, and we were only able to catch one. The one that occurred most recently was about another 100 cars. That was the one that tore up all the pavement in front of Grocery Outlet. We only had one deputy working that night, so he was totally ineffective. He was not able to do anything but scare them away. So to make some serious headway in causing some impact to these groups that are coming here, again, we have to get lucky. We have to have the right people in the right place at the right time. It's not a problem to call for help and get additional units, but it does take time for them to get here. So the minute that we show our card in being there, they start to scatter. And then we're lucky with whoever's here by the time we get additional people here. So it does take quite a few cars and quite a few hands to be able to stop even just 1 or 2 people. The last couple incidents have also resulted in pursuits. So it's not just a matter of them pulling over, the second our lights go on. The game is on at that point. So that adds a different element to the situation, and then that would take primary over anything else that's happening. So it's an all or none kind of game for us.
Thank you.
Okay, no further questions. I see Bobby raising her hand. Bobby, you're just going to have to fill out all the reports tonight, so. We have public comment. Bobby Forbes.
About 6 months ago for the first meeting, I happened to be by Walgreens when they were having the car meet, and it was incredible to watch what the Sheriff's Department did and how they handled it. It was great to see it, and I posted it on Facebook afterwards. But a week or 2 ago, 11:30 or so at night, maybe 10:30, I get a text message from a friend that lives at Dos Rios and La Pay, and I just happened to have gone outside to sit by the fire, and all of a sudden I'm hearing all these cars. I'm 1.5 miles that west of where they were. My friend's up here 1.5 miles or 2 from where they were. So the reason I say this is because the community needs to call the Sheriff's Department when they hear this. Don't just put it on Facebook about how they're racing through the neighborhood. They won't know. They can't be everywhere, and you don't want them just sitting in front of Grocery Outlet 24/7. They need to be in the community. The residents need to step up and pay attention so that the sheriff can be called out to take care of this, because they come in from different directions. They're not just getting off at Barton Road. They're coming from other ways. So we hear them. They're really loud cars. And I'm a car buff. But I'm not doing that, and I didn't used to do that either. But it's something that it's a nuisance to the community. They smashed the sign at Woody's, and it's still smashed. I don't know how or who's going to take care of that, but it looks like heck, because they did that one night during their incident on Barton Road. So the community needs to step up and help the Sheriff's Department and help the city do this, and not just complain on Facebook. We all do it. And when I call the sheriff, I tell them to go on Facebook so that they can see where the activities are. And I know they have access to that. The young ones maybe more than the other are a little bit quicker at it. But as the summer comes and the days are longer, we're going to see more of it. And people will be up later at night. So maybe not just me being up at night. The community will be up until 9 or 10, and they're out at 10:30 or something like that, I think. And so I just respect you for taking care of the issue, and I appreciate it and hope the town will step up too. Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. Okay, we'll close questions. Any other public comment?
No, Mayor.
I have one other one. I'm going to let you guys slide this time, but please fill out your request to speak form prior to us meeting. Come down here to the...
Here you go.
Oh, not bad.
No, you could, we're waiting for you right now, so you could come down here. Okay. All right, any other comments, council? Councilman Henderson?
I have a friend who's a law enforcement representative from another jurisdiction, and he is a member of the street takeover task force. And there's 21 law enforcement officers from 3 or 4 different jurisdictions. That's how serious it is, and that's how serious they take it. So Lieutenant Lane's comments about more resources is really the elephant in the room in terms of Grand Terrace. We have 1 officer on the street at any given time. That's known throughout the community, and certainly in the street takeover community and the street racing community. So hopefully, help is on the way in November, and we'll have at least double the resources that we have today.
Michelle, did you have a comment from last?
No. Councilman Henderson covered exactly that, so.
All right. So we know this is a problematic, and we know this in our city, you know, it feels like we're being violated, taking over areas, and we know that, you know, our law enforcement, they have other things to do besides this, and we know that it's also destruction of private property, and we know that it could seriously hurt somebody. And I can't believe somebody had a 3-year-old baby in their car while doing that. I can't comprehend that. And we know that even when they leave the rally and they're speeding through the streets to try to get away from law enforcement, there's potential to hurt somebody that way too. And it's a takeover, and it shouldn't be done. And you know, hopefully we could get the additional resources to take over, but that's all I had. Anybody else? So what do we want to do with this item? It's a future agenda item. Councilmember Allen, so we know what steps, what's already involved and stuff and what we have.
Yeah, I'm pretty satisfied with what the Lieutenant Lane said, how he explained how we actually have the tools that we need as far as, you know, the laws and the ordinances and the rules and the regulations, you know, so there's not a need apparently for stricter or more strict laws or ordinances. It's just applying the ones that we have. However, I am open to your comments about spectators and this Compton example that we're seeing about them adding spectators to this, your comments about how the spectators are interfering with law enforcement and all. So, but if our ordinances are adequate for our law enforcement, our chief of police, then I'm satisfied with that too. What we can do to get more hands on deck.
So do you want to look into any future things to add spectators, or are you pretty much satisfied with everything?
No, I'm satisfied with this started out as a discussion on the ordinance or on our laws and ordinances. So I don't think it needs to go any further.
All right, City Attorney, you have anything to add?
No, but similar to the last item, the appropriate motion would be to receive and file, if that's the direction you'd like.
Okay, so do I have a motion for receive and file?
Second.
Okay, please vote. Okay, future agenda items at any
Motion
time.
passes unanimously.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Anytime City Council may propose a discussion of action item, future duly agenda item, City Council meeting, consensus of the majority of the quorum is required to place the item on the future agenda. We have none. Does the council want to add any? Councilman Allen.
Thank you, Mayor. So this past week, you know, the 4 of us attended the legislative session in Sacramento. And one of the things that I learned there was that, there were comments made earlier in this evening about the number of bills that come before the state legislature every year. And this year, there being over 2,500. And I think that, or I know that I would like us to offer a voter education session for voters here in Grand Terrace. And we could use Cal Cities has a team of experts who this is what they do, and we pay a lot of money to them to do this sort of thing. And so I think sometime this summer, a voter education session here in the council chambers for any residents who want to attend, and we can have a back and forth discussion on the various bills and how they can influence those bills that are coming before the state legislature. I mean, that there are ways that the average citizen, the average resident who doesn't have any seat behind a dais can influence a bill, and we can have all those kind of discussions. And I just think it'd be real important. And the reason is because, like, here's a great example. Lieutenant Lane just told us about how if there's panhandling in the city, and to effect an arrest, it has to be a citizen's arrest because the officer gets called up and he doesn't witness it, so he has to have a citizen's arrest. But there's a bill before the state legislature this year to change that so that an officer can make that arrest on probable cause without needing to use a citizen and say, you're going to have to sign this report, come down here and make the citizen arrest and probably go to court and blah, blah, blah. Well, who wants to do that for somebody panhandling, you know? So these are the issues, some of the bills that are before the legislature, and this one behind me, I put these up this evening. We learned about these while I was up there, and I can discuss those at our communications, though. This is a future agenda items request time, and I would like to request a voter education session for our residents sometime this summer.
Okay, do I have a second? I'll second. So I have a motion for a voter, what was the motion again? Yes, I must be tapped out. Please vote.
Motion passes with council members Sabino, Henderson, and Allen voting yes, Mayor Hussey voting yes, Mayor Pro Tem Wilson votes no.
All right, so we'll go ahead and close that. We'll bring it to City Council Communications. Our new council member, you're first up.
I don't even know where to begin. Thank you for the opportunity to serve alongside all of you. Yeah, just it's been very, I don't know. I don't even have the words. You're right. It's been a very long evening. It's been a very long few days. And I'm just grateful for the opportunity. That's where I'll leave that. Thank you, gentlemen.
Well, you're welcome. I understand. I think guys only have like 3,000 words per day, and the women have 20,000. I mean, that's what I do in my marriage class. So I'm way over my quota. So, but welcome to the City Council. Okay, Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Along with the rest of you, attended the Chamber of Commerce Business of the Month event at 3 B's Boutique. Very, very impressive operation, particularly with respect to the type and level of inventory. On that same day, we also attended the grand opening for Advanced Automotive, one of the newest additions to the city commercial landscape. And in speaking with the manager of that facility, he indicated that Advanced Automotive had met its monthly revenue goals in the first 4 days of operation. So they were extremely pleased, as we were to hear it. And we think, as Councilmember Sabina mentioned in her presentation to the council, and the manager had mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, Grand Terrace has seen revenue increases for 12 consecutive quarters, the only city in San Bernardino County to be able to claim that fame. So we're on the right trajectory. We just need to keep it up. Mayor Pro Tem Wilson, Mayor Hussey, Councilmember Allen, and myself attended the California League of Cities Leadership Summit in Sacramento last week. A lot of good things were talked about and discussed. It gave us an opportunity to build our relationships with one another, and I'm very pleased with that. Just one quick item of note, there was a presentation called Adjust Your Attitude, Resolving Communications Complications. there were 2 points that I wanted to bring to the council's attention. Number one, find a way to be the best part of someone's day. And number two, avoid past failures to impact future opportunities. It's an excellent session given by the presenter, and very engaged, and I think one of the most beneficial sessions that we had over the 3 days of the event itself. One of the things that we need to be mindful of is AB 764, which is districting and redistricting. We're playing moving cars with respect to our representatives from the state because of districting and redistricting. So Senator Cook, who we had last year, is not going to be our senator representing us in November. And it's one of the things that we just need to be careful of, mindful of, and spend our time judiciously in establishing relationships with the electeds that are going to be representing us in the future. The league published 10 best practices for cities following the California legislature. Number one, appoint a city legislative liaison. We don't have that. It's a sore point with me, as you could probably tell, because I think we need a full-fledged legislative advocacy program so that when we go to Sacramento, we have the best chance possible to meeting with our electeds. When we were up there, we ran into the City of Chino representatives because we'd been seeing them at other conferences. And a former police officer who's now on the city council told me, and the mayor, I believe, that they had 7 meetings with the electeds, their electeds. 7 meetings. They were running back and forth, breathless, because you only get about 15, maybe 20 minutes max in these situations. And so in order for us to be effective, I think we need to really take a look at a legislative advocacy program and potentially a lobbyist in Sacramento. Lastly, my wife's a member of Christ Redeemer Church. Christ the Redeemer had a fundraiser, including a car show this past Sunday. I participated in that. Good time was had by all. It was hot, but it's for a good cause. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Councilor Henderson. Councilor Allen?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Henderson, he mentioned that we all went to the Leadership Summit at the Capitol this past week. I attended also, and 3-day-long conference that brought a lot of mayors and council members from across the state to learn and discuss the issues facing, small cities like retail theft, crime, homelessness, and bills pending before the state legislature, all 2,500 plus of them this year. And that's one of the reasons why I felt like a voter education workshop would be a great addition to offer to our residents, because there's so many bills before the state legislature this year, and it's this way every year. So some of these bills might be important to our residents, and so it's important for folks to know that they can and do have influence on these bills and how they can influence them effectively. After all, we do know that the squeaky wheel does get the grease, and that's why all of your city council leaders and members went to the state capitol this past week to be the squeaky wheel. We haven't had much of that in the past, and we're working real hard to change that. As Councilmember Henderson mentioned, the absolute need for legislative lobbying. But your council members, the 4 of us, presented a very unified effort to impress on our state representatives what our city needs to be progressive. The mayor was great at getting us in all the doors that we needed to get into, and both the Assembly member Cervantes and the state senator's office, Bo's office. And while we were in there, I was blown away by the 60-plus page book that Mayor Pro Tem Wilson put together, outlining all of the problems our city has, all of our desires, and just really detailed it. And he sat there and made these detailed presentations to both of the legislators, and it was really great.
Hear, hear.
And all of us listened and learned as Councilmember Henderson talked so eloquently, discussed economic development and in ways that none of us could more than we could imagine, because he's lived it his whole life, past, present, and future. Indeed, we all learned something from him, and I believe we were very successful in our mission, and that was that we got Grand Terrace's name at the forefront in those legislators' offices. But what we all agreed on afterwards, if I remember right, is what you just said, is that need for lobbying efforts and to build on these relationships by continuing to make these regular routine visits to our state and county legislators. So, anyway, yeah, that's what I did this past time. And I also attended 3Bs. I'd like to congratulate 3Bs for their award of receiving that they got for Business of the Month. She puts a lot of hard work, and I encourage you all to visit her shop down there across from Woody's. It's a great little shop, so eclectic, and don't forget to get your spark plugs at Advanced Auto Parts.
Okay. I see the young lady raising her hand. First of all, let me apologize if I act like I embarrass you or anything, but so in the public comment, we have it open for public comment at a certain time at the beginning. I know this is probably the first time here. So we have public comment open for any agenda item. And then each agenda item, we have a public comment. So you fill out the form. So right now, we're closing all public comments. So we're just bringing it to the council on their comments. So if you would like to speak after the council meeting, I'll be happy to speak with you. That's just how it works. I know it's because I remember the first time I did a public comment, and I go, why isn't the diocese talking back to me? I'm asking them a question, and that's not how it works. So I'm just explaining to you how it works, okay? But I am open to speak to you afterwards, or I have open house tomorrow from 1 to 3 upstairs. So if you have any desire that you need to talk to or anything, my door's always open, okay? So, all right, so on that, yes, it was, I had Councilmember Henderson drive up there with me again, and he took his life in his own hand, but we stayed away from highway, what was that famous highway, 198? Yeah, we saw it. I wanted to go back there and try it again. I said we could do it, but he said no. And then we did the LA cross as soon as we hit the 110. So my navigator gave me bad information. I said, should we go through Palmdale? And the navigator said, no, we should just do that. So anyway, Friday, traffic from LA, stay off the 110. There's my advice. And, but you know what? The best thing about going up there is the networking. You get undo your tie and you can actually talk like regular human beings, and as talking to our fellow council members, and no Brown Act violation, is just get to know each other personally. That's the biggest thing. Just to go to know everybody. And meeting our legislation, they're still working on Sacramento, the Capitol building. It was confirmed that we are going to be in a $73 billion deficit. But you know what? Like Councilman Allen, we're the squeaky wheel, and we had to get the oil. And we just had to get our name out there that I think we turned in the paperwork, but anybody can look at the paperwork. We just got to have a face with that paperwork. All right? And the senator, how do you say her first? What?
Rosalicia.
Rosalicia. Bog, right?
Ochoa Bogue.
Okay.
Ochoa.
So could I
Bogue.
just use her first initials for everyone, call her Rob or something?
My daughter says, why do you keep calling her Cho Bogue? Cho Bogue. And I'm like, it's Ochoa Bogue.
Ochoa Bogue.
Yeah.
Anyway, she is up for election, and we got redistricted again, so she took the time out, even though we're not in her district, to talk to her. And we'll see what Faith has it for the November election, so that was nice. And then the chief of staff, because Assemblymember Cervantes couldn't make it due to the family members, but we were there, and Councilmember Allen had a great thing. Let's just go talk to him. And he was very open door on that. So we got to talk to people, and we got to meet people, and And it was just a great experience, and it's one of the things that we look at, and all the classes that they had for the League of Cities and all the new ABs that they're having out. The tax thing right here is the deception tax. They want to bring that up because what it is they're trying to take away from the city local control. What do we have coming up? We have enhanced law enforcement tax that we voted on. We had a public input. Now it's going to the public. There's some people that want to take that away and start from scratch. So you already have some people, I think it's from 2022, that they will look at all those taxes passed by the residents and just be awash, and they have to start all over. Talking to the Chino Hills, their tax passed, and they need it, especially since they're closing San Quentin, and Chino Hills is getting, not Chino Hills, Chino State Prison is getting death row inmates. And the level of security is not there. I worked in the prison for 26 years, so I know what level of security needs to be there. So the taxes, I'm not a tax guy, tax everything, but I believe when a tax passes, you don't waste the taxpayers' money, and it's for a good cause, and the cause is for here. So that's what the educational part is, and that's what this initiative wants to take away. So on that, it was just a great time, and, I appreciate my council members, and I appreciate, once again, the residents who came and put their name in the hat to be up here among their peers and to answer questions, and I hope you guys continue to move forward on what your aspirations and what you want for the city of Grand Terrace, because this is your town, all right? And we're not going to be up here forever. So, okay, with that, I'll close and leave it to city manager.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So once again, I want to thank our residents for putting up with us during the pavement process. We're just about done. We got a little bit of touch-up left. We had a failure on the top of DeBerry with the water lines, and Riverside Highland has been remarkable to work with. I want to thank them for stepping up and taking care of that. We got that one piece of road to fix, and then we should be in good shape going forward. Unfortunately, we're not. Now that we're done, Edison is out there, and you probably see them on some of the streets. They're going through and replacing old poles and straightening up poles and cleaning up connectors. So there's going to be a whole bunch of street closures in those specific areas, probably for the next 2 or 3 months in very localized areas. Some of them on Barton Road, some of the other areas we're going to do night work, which may have a little bit of impact for the residents along that area, but we just can't close Barton Road during the middle of the day. So we're trying to juggle that, but there will be impacts throughout the city, and thank you all for putting up with that. We have the Historic and Cultural Committee Art Show on May 11th here at City Hall, so please everybody come and enjoy that. They've done a wonderful job. They're always fantastic event, and it's great to see the skill and the artistic abilities here in our community. On May 18th, we have the Blue Mountain Festival. This is the rebranded Community Day with the parade. The parade route will run down Mount Vernon from Grand Terrace all the way to Rollins Park. Hopefully we'll get a lot of turnout, people watching and engaged. We're really looking forward to that. So look for the times on that May 18th. We had Wilden Pump today, stepped up and they're a huge employer here in town. They've been wonderful to the city. They stepped up for Earth Day and planted a whole string of trees around the community as their contribution to Earth Day. And it's great to have businesses like that as part of our community. And finally, we have the dumpsters out here in front of City Hall. We've done a remarkable job on stopping illegal dumping. Our community is using those. The houses are looking better. Sorry, guys, your wives are making you clean up the garage. But we're seeing this positive improvement. But please remember that there are certain things you can't throw away in there: batteries, tires, mattresses. Actually, the ones they're still sitting here full from this weekend because somebody filled the bottom of it with concrete and we can't lift it. So please be cognizant. It's a service. It's there for us to use as a community, but please don't abuse that. Thank you.
So we're going to have to put cameras on our dumpsters now?
We're trusting our community, and we have great citizens and residents, and Once they know what they need to do, they'll do it.
All right. So we'll go ahead and close this city manager communication. And as the sheriffs and fire department, you have anything to add?
No, Mayor, just the congratulations to Council Member Sabino. Look forward to working with you.
Okay. All right. So we're going to, the next regular city council meeting will be held Tuesday, May 28, 2024 at 6 p.m. Any request to have an item placed on a future agenda must be made in writing and submitted to the city clerk. So thank you and God bless.